For today's video, we have two very special guests. I've been meaning to get these guys on for a while now, but I'm pretty useless when it comes to organizing things. So they've taken the time to join me today. So really exciting. First, we have DR. How are you, mate?
Very good, George. Thanks for having me on, mate. Extremely excited to be on the #1 Supercoach channel on YouTube, mate. Thank you very
I don't have
much.
to blow smoke up my ass this early. That's all right. But kind words, thanks, DR. And Spills, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How about yourself?
Good to have you. Good to have you on the channel for the first time, and you, DR. Hopefully, no pizza deliveries come midway through the podcast for you, Spills.
Yeah, no,
see how we go.
Last time, but no, it should be good, mate. I'm eating healthy now, so I shouldn't get any interruptions.
Awesome. So we got a lot to discuss today. So we'll just do. We'll ask some general questions just about Supercoach on YouTube, and how you guys are going this year. And then we'll go through some defender questions, some midfielders, some forwards. I know the forwards are pretty difficult, so I think we can handle that one today. And then we'll also go on rookies because a lot of people want to get rid of Power. Do you bring in RCD at his expensive price? It's really tough, so we'll go through that. And then we got a couple of general questions like when do we finish our team? Stuff like that. How many trades should we have left? But yeah, so should be good, guys. So I'll start with DR, and I just want to ask you, how are you finding YouTube, Supercoach on YouTube this year? So I know you've been doing 1 or 2 years now, I think. How are you finding it? Do you find it, is it rewarding? Do you really enjoy it? How are you finding it so far?
Oh, terrific, mate. Yeah, look, I've been playing the game for, must be 10 to 15 years now. And so a couple of years ago, decided to get the channel up and running. And look, really rewarding, mate. I think the best thing out of it is, the communication and, the community that you build. So I didn't know you or Spills from a bar of soap, and Spills and I calling each other weekly about this sort of stuff, mate, and chatting for hours on end. Probably a little bit too much, I think, mate. But no, it's been terrific, mate. And, sometimes you don't have all the answers, and then there's lots of people that help you out with your own team as well. So, yeah, really, really enjoyable, mate. Great to meet new people and get some different ideas, because if we all think the same way, it's a pretty boring game, isn't it, mate? So, yeah, going really well, mate. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, definitely good to have different opinions and stuff. Because there's a few picks that I wouldn't have had this year if I didn't watch, you guys' channel, in our Discord, for example. I remember Spills had Mills in his starting team, Butters in his starting team, I think, for a bit. So almost picked those guys, but you got to stick to the pod next year. You got to stick to them because they're going to work.
I always do it, and Lyons as well. I always hype him up, and I never started him. But
you got him now, so you're good. But anyway, Spills, I've been watching your channel this year, and it makes a big difference with the camera. I think it's quite relaxing to watch. Pretty chill videos. How are you finding, YouTube this year? And yeah, what do you think so far? How are you finding it?
Yeah, look, I absolutely love it, mate. Look, the thing I really enjoy about it is it's a release from everyday life and reality. Like when I work full time, I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and when I'm not at work, I'm at the gym or football training or hanging out with my mates. So it's a good release, and it takes me away from reality a fair bit and gives me a bit of purpose. And yeah, it's one of my favourite things, Supercoach. I'm always on it, and I'm bloody happy I've got a YouTube channel. It's been unreal. I met you boys, which is awesome. You meet some good mates out of it. There are other boys as well, like JD and Eno, and there's Deji as well. He's gone quiet. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but yeah, you meet all these boys and you get all these connections, and make some good friends and discuss a bit of banter. Yeah, it's just great. I love it, and it's something I love to do every week. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's like it's more than just a side hobby for me. It's it's a pretty big part of my life, really. Supercoach is every day for me. So
it's a lifestyle, mate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But we can move on to so for our own team. So our best and worst picks or trades. So the best thing you've done or the worst thing that's happened to your team this year. For me, probably starting Tom Phillips, disaster. Not starting Impey. The best thing I've done, I don't think I've done a whole lot of great trade-ins. They've just been like all good trade-ins, okay trade-ins. I'm not even sure. Probably Tom Atkins or Jordan Butts starting, I think. Both low ownership. Atkins has dropped away, but at least they were low ownership. They've made money, so they're doing okay for me. What about you, DR?
Oh, look, the worst one's tough, mate, because there's been a few bad ones, but probably for me, I'd say one of the most disappointing was bringing Titch in round 2 when Danger went down. So, and that was probably one of my bad starting picks as well, Danger. You know, we had a bit of a chat pre-season. You know, we talked about that age, durability, but I'd just seen that one really good game in the pre-season and thought, look, I've got to jump on him. He's almost a must-have in our forward line, and unfortunately, we all know what happened with Danger. I know what the story is there. And I brought in Titch. I think his round 1 score was about a 135. So I was expecting, you know, a 110 minimum from him. But again, he had a limited pre-season, and there were still some danger signs or some warning signs there. So probably for me, that's been the worst trade in, I'd say. And probably the best decision, I think, was starting Impey. I know he was a pretty popular starting pick, but from where he started out around the 200k mark, basically keeper status now, that's been really, really handy. It's probably a trade that I save now, given the fact that he's now potential, or I think he's better than a potential peak keeper. I think he is a keeper for my team at this stage. So that's probably it for me, I think, George. But yeah, probably more bad decisions than good decisions, unfortunately, this year.
Still, what are you, 1K? It's not too bad. It's been the most unforgiving year, not having there's about there's 8 players he had to have. You know, if you didn't have Zeeble or Impey, it's an uphill battle from there. I know you got Impey in late spills, but it's just, it only takes one of these picks that you don't have, and it's hard. But yeah. What about you, Spills? Best and worst thing for you this year in Supercoach?
Worst thing, look, I think the obvious answer is saying Tom Phillips. I think we can all speak for that one. That was an absolute disaster, and he was only in my side for 1 week, so probably wouldn't be the worst thing I did because a lot of blokes did it. But I reckon the worst decision I made this year was picking Daniel over Ridley, because I had Ridley in my. I remember it was my team update, and that was my most viewed video. I think it got like 3.5k views, and I had Ridley and Mills in that squad, and I heard what was it? It was Ridley's ankle or something like that. He was, I don't know, had a bit of an interrupted preseason. Daniel had that howler of a game or a really good game against the D's in the series, and I literally just changed my picks around, started Daniel over Ridley, and I know Jordan Ridley went down, but I think Daniel really sputtered it up, and that was a clear mistake, I reckon. But not really happy with that one. And look, the best thing I've done this year, it's a pretty easy one, but I put Jared Lyons in my team. I traded him in about 3 weeks ago, and pretty happy with that one so far. He's doing pretty well, sitting at 630k at M1. So really happy with that.
I'm trying to get Lyons in, and I'm not sure how I'm going to come up with the funds now. He's going to be a great one for you. He could be top 3 at this rate. So fingers crossed he comes down for us. But for you, hopefully he keeps going up. But I think his break even's 90, so no chance in the near future.
Benefit about Neil for sure.
Yeah. So we can speak on. So we got some questions here. These are from YouTube comments. So we'll start with our defenders, and we've got a few here and a few interesting ones. So Caleb Daniels has come good the past few weeks. He's about 470k. I've traded Daniel out. I think when I saw Daniel come back, the week after the suspension, he changed his play style a little bit. And Bevo said recently his role is changing weekly. But I think with Daniel, what's happened is I actually watched some footage of him this morning, and he's playing different. So he's playing halfback, but he's also pushing up the ground really high to where he's going in the forward 50 at times, and also delivering the ball. So if you look at his heat map, it's like a U shape along the wing up until the forward 50, and in defense. So his role is quite weird because it actually might be more Supercoach friendly than it was before, because he's sort of following up in the stoppages. He's hanging out off the back of stoppages. So he's one I've watched a bit closely. I think he's gone 110 over the past 3 weeks. Do you guys think that we'll start with DR. Do you guys think that those poor games are behind him, or do you think he's a player we could get in going forward?
It's tough, George, because when I bought Steve May in a couple of weeks ago, Daniel was around the same price, had a better buy as well. But At the time, I really wanted to see how he went, particularly with Bailey Dale and Bailey Williams in the same side, because I just didn't know what his role was going to look like when both of those other blokes were in the same side. But it's shown over, particularly last week, even when both players are in, that he still managed to score really, really well. So I think that's a good sign for Daniel, the fact that he is scoring well with both of those players in the side. Look, I'm still a little bit wary, given the fact that his role's been a little bit inconsistent. I thought, was it a couple of weeks ago that he was even playing up forward at some stage of the game? I'm not too sure. But look, I think there's still a little bit of risk attached, but I think there are some really nice premium defenders that we can select this year. Look, you could go him if you haven't got like another Stephen May pick. So if you're already pretty solid in defence, I think you could have a look at him. But I think if you're running with someone like a Stephen May, and the Jath, for example, a couple of those type players, then I'd be looking to go with a safer, more proven selection in 2021, I think. But it's sort of team dependent. It depends how deep you're running into defensive lines. But if you're after a cheap option, then he could be someone to fill that spot. But I'm sort of on the fence with it, mate. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm not totally against it at this stage.
Yep. Any interest in Daniel Spills?
Oh no, it's a bit personal with Daniel. I can't go
I'm
near
the
the
same.
helmet at all. I promise I'll never select him ever again. I don't care if he's 400k because he's 166 centimeter bloody utility player that can go anywhere. And yeah, I don't like it. And there's other options too. Like we got Stewart. He's going to lose some money. He's got break even 138, which is really good. And he's a guy that you want to get in. He's got the good buy as well. So he's probably my number one target. Or if you don't have Callum Mills, he's just tearing it up as well. So look, I don't mind him, but I think there are better picks. Yeah, not really sure though. I haven't monitored him since I traded him.
It's a bit of a weird one because his role keeps changing, and sometimes he has scoring periods where he does nothing for the first quarter and a half, and then he just starts scoring in the second half. It's a bit of a weird one. I'll feel safer with other options. So
Yeah.
we'll pass on Daniel for now. I can see it working, but just seems pay a little bit more for some safer picks. Now, I have CJ Giath playing really well this year. Almost got concussed, but came back on the field this week. He's a bit of a frustrating one. So the question is Giath a keeper? And for me, he's not a keeper. I fear that he's going to do an injury soon. Just the way he plays, it's the way he runs into contests. It's like you got to turn away when it happens. But I think his scoring avenues aren't the best. So a lot of his intercepts are from really poor opposition kicks. So not so much beating his man because he generally plays pretty loose. So he relies on that. And he needs to be given the ball. So his contested rate's not too high either. So it's more you running half back, but no kickouts as well. So he's not a keeper for me. Have you guys monitored CJ at all this year, DR?
Not really, mate. No. But look, such an exciting type player, and it would have been great that this when you got him into your side. I think that was a really good time to get him in. But I'm a little bit worried. I think he had his shoulder strapped as well, and I'm not liking the look at that. He looked a little bit sore, I think, as well. So I know that they were a little bit worried about concussion, but I thought that he grabbed that shoulder a little bit as well. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. And I share the sentiments that his scoring avenues aren't that terrific. You've got someone, and you can't compare him to a Stewart, but with your Stewart, he can get his own ball. He can rely on those kick-outs for those extra points. I think that's really handy to have as a defender this year. If you take a couple of kick-outs, that really helps to, I suppose, lower your floor anyway from week to week. So if you're not a defender that kicks out, then I'm not, I suppose, as much of a fan as I am of those that get a few kick-outs, even like your Stephen May types, for example.
Yep. So he's 400k Spills. Would you bring him in or no?
No, I don't know. Probably not. I didn't really monitor him. I've seen him play a few times. He has a few clangers here and there as well. Like I saw him kicking an out in the full. Like it was like a 15 meter hit up target, and he outside the boot went straight out in the full. And I thought, it's not a hard kick to miss. Like really good X factor player, takes the game on, and loves it. Like loves running up the ground, and he's so dangerous once he gets moving. Look, he's going to be one of those up and down players, and I think he can give you like sort of low hundreds, but at the same time, he can give you 60s as well. So as a keeper, probably not. But if you jumped on him when he was cheap as chips, that's a good move. But I'll probably comparing him to Tex Walker at this point in time. Like he's the perfect stepping stone, but far from a keeper, I reckon.
Yeah.
If only he's available in our forward line. You know, if he's available as a forward, I'd probably call him a keeper. I know that he's not, but yeah, with our back line this year, I just think there are more solid and safe options, I think, when you're talking about a keeper. So I don't think he is. But he's been a great pick if you've got him in at the right time, I think.
Okay, so next question is on Jack Bowes, but also just in general. So a few people would have, Shea Bolton from last week. Rowan Marshall's gone down. Toby Green, if you have him. Now Bowes as well. If these players are out for 3 weeks or so, with the buys coming up, are these the sort of players you want to move on? Or do you want to hold these guys? More specifically Bowes, because I think the other guys are a bit longer, but Bowes, I think you said minor hamstring, so say probably 2 to 3 weeks, plus he has the bye. Or if you just had an injury in general this week, would you be, because there's no downgrade options really as well that are at base price this week, would you be willing to hold injuries at the moment or just upgrade around them?
Yeah, look, I think particularly in our defensive lines, we're pretty lucky that Highmore's come in. Now, I'm not sure if he plays again this week, but one thing I did hear in Rat's press conference was that he was really impressed with the way that Highmore put his body on the line. So I think that's pretty high praise coming from a coach. So I'm hoping that he'll get another game this week and hopefully keep his spot in the short term anyway. But I think a lot of it depends on your bench coverage. So if you've got someone like a Lockie Jones there and a Harry Sharp, then unless you're willing to cop a donut, then it's going to be pretty tough. Or unless you've got Laird in your midfield, you might be able to swing him back if you've got a loop there. But look, I think with Bowes in particular, you're a little bit worried about his role moving forward as well. So I think he's a little bit of a different situation. I heard your commentary on it, George. The fact that Lukosius is going back there a little bit more now. He's not getting as many of those kick-ins. So Bowes in particular, I'd be tempted to moving on. But, if you've got other carnage and you've got a couple of options on the bench that can come in for him for a couple of weeks, then I think it's still okay to hold. But I'd be in the camp of trading if we're talking about Bowes in particular, I think. But I'm a non-owner, so it's a lot easier for me to say I'd trade him out as a non-owner. But that's probably the way I'm feeling at the moment, I think, mate.
Yeah. Oh, for me, he can piss off. I've had enough. Because the first few rounds, he was going 110. He looked really good, but as soon as he he needed heavy amount of kickouts, a lot of uncontested ball. The intercept started to dry up a little bit as well. So I looked at the footage of him early rounds. He looked really good, but plays more accountable at times. As soon as Lukosius goes back, it's Bowes throws the ball to Lukosius and gives him the kick out, and it's like, oh no.
Damn.
So he's gone for me. But yeah, even like a Marshall as well. Would you hold a Bowes or a Marshall throughout the buys, or would you get rid of him, Spills?
How long is Bowes out again?
We don't know. It's a minor hamstring is what we're hearing. So say 2 to 3.
Oh, he's got to go. Look, I got a week rule because it depends where you're at in the rankings as well. And holding a guy for like 2 or 3 weeks is so critical. We saw, I don't want to remind you, we saw Crum hold Dangerfield for 3 weeks, and that didn't work at all. And he's paid for that quite a lot. I follow his channel a bit. Hasn't uploaded in a few weeks, so maybe that's got something to do with it. But look, that's the sort of stuff that can happen when you stay truthful to a player that's burnt you for a reason. I think, look, if it's like a concussion and you can hold like Ridley, put him on your bench for a week, that's completely fine. But if it's anything more than 1 week or 2 weeks, it's probably going to cost you a fair bit. And at this point of the year, just for the buyers, I think you got to trade Bowes, unfortunately, which is really unfortunate for you, George, because when you traded him in at the time, it was one of the more better moves I've seen you do in quite a while. So yeah, that's really stiff on your behalf, mate. And yeah, you don't deserve that at all.
It was a great move for 3 weeks, and now we move on. That's okay. So last question for defenders. So these ones are probably harder questions because it's players we haven't monitored as much, but the rest of the players will be a lot more popular players. Christian Salem or Blake Hardwick. I didn't even know Blake Hardwick was averaging 100 till I looked today, and someone asked. But he's the main kick-out taker at Hawthorn, and Christian Salem, he was boosted by a big 160 game a few weeks ago, but he looks really good. I think, are these players you're considering going forward, or who's the player you guys want to finish your defense? For me, I want Tom Stewart to finish my defense. I don't know why I don't have him yet, but I need to grab him. And then I'm looking at a Ridley or Whitfield. Whitfield makes me nervous, but yeah, if he's the right price and he starts coming good, he could be a nice point of difference. So any interest in Salem or Hardwick, and who do you want to finish your team in defense, Dia?
Look, I'm not really interested in either. Look, and it's probably not giving Salem enough respect, but I was actually looking at some of the numbers for the stock market. I think it was last week, and some of the players that are highly owned, you've got Jake Lever that's in more teams than Christian Salem. Some of the names that have been selected ahead of him are a little bit mind-boggling. So we aren't giving him a heap of respect, but you think back to last season, his top score was a 116, and we're talking for the whole season there. I know it's a different year. There's new roles, all the rest. But for me, I just think there are some more reliable options that have had that proven premium scoring history. I'd prefer to select those blokes that already have some runs on the board. That's not to say that he can't continue this form. He's a great distributor. I think that it was a GWS trade with Melbourne, wasn't it? Jelly was it Dom Tyson?
Yeah,
Tyson
and
Salem, I think it was. So it's a little bit easier to stomach now, I think, for D supporters that Salem's hitting some form and consistent form. But I think for the first 3 to 4 weeks, he may have only hit the ton one or twice with a couple of 70s in there. But for the last 5 weeks, he's gone above the ton each week. So, look, if you're looking for an ultra pod, I think you could go in. But the issue is that lots of teams have your Seagulls, Mills, May, that all share the same buy, and it's a little bit of a tricky buy, I think. So if you're looking for a wacky pod, I suppose maybe after the buy. But yeah, I just don't know what it is. Maybe the fact that he hasn't had that premium history, I'm not overly interested in him. And Blake Hardwick's actually had a really good last month. As you said, George, he's taken the kick-ins, can intercept from time to time, pretty hard at it, can win some contested ball as well. But it goes back to the fact, again, that there are too many proven and reliable scoring options available there in the defensive line this year. So I'm not looking to take a heap of risks. And in regards to who I'm finishing my defence with, I'm pretty much stacked already because I've got 5 down there and Laird in the midfield. So the plan is eventually to swing him back. But at this stage, I've got Murphy, Mansell and Highmore down back. So it's not really time to cull any of those blokes yet. So I'll probably just look to swing Laird back. But I'd probably look pretty closely at Lockie Whitfield after his bye. I think he's a little bit rusty at the moment, hasn't been using the ball overly well, but he's still been finding it okay. So he'd be probably the bloke that I'd look to get in. I'd love to get Callum Mills, but yeah, I just don't think it's going to be too realistic. But yeah, probably Whitfield. But Mills ultimately is the bloke that I'd love to get, but just don't know if I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, me neither. I think Salem and Mills are similar price, and I think you go Mills at that price. So it doesn't really make any sense to go for Salem if you don't have Mills, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Who are you looking to finish your team in defence, Spills?
Well, this week I'm training Tommy Stewart, and that'll finish my back line. But after the round 14 bye, I'll be flipping Laird into the midfield and finishing off with Mills. I think it's pretty hard to go past in his current form, and he's the man that I've been eyeing off and nearly started. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. So I'd love to have Mills in my team, and I've got the rookies as well. I've held on to all the good ones. Bit of a fluke, but I'm in a position where I can pay up for some certain players, and I don't have to always target those value picks, which is somewhat beneficial, I guess.
Yeah, I think the last 4 players I've brought in are all under 450k, I reckon. And Brayshaw as well, 480. So it does help to hold on to rookies such as James Jordan, who I don't have. So that's all right.
Oh, yeah.
We'll move on to the midfield. And yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions about the Scottish suitcase Hugh McLuggage. We need some help.
Big Huey.
I look at the CBAs. I'm looking like 10% CBAs, but like Neil's out. I don't know if that's benefiting him. He's gone pretty hot right now. He's past month about 125, 130 just about. Is he someone you're looking at, and can you enlighten us as to why he might be scoring this well?
Yeah, it's funny, one of the first videos that I put out on YouTube a couple of years ago was actually a player review on Huey McCluggage, and I was seriously considering him a year ago, but what was worrying me was his body shape still. I felt like he needed to develop a bit more strength, put on a little bit more size. But look, what's Huey got going for him? Well, we know there's an elite talent. As a junior, he's always been a goal-kicking type midfielder. They call him the Rolls Royce for a reason. I think he's very similar to Pendles in the fact that he always seems to have time and space. He doesn't panic with the ball. It's like he's just got that extra half a second on his opposition. A really good decision maker, a good user of the ball as well. Prefers to kick rather than handball, which is also handy. And he's also really worked on his endurance as well. But look, he's basically still a full-time wingman. He does come into a few CBAs here and there. And I think going into the future, that's where I'd like to see him, right in the guts of it. Similar to Sammy Walsh, I think he could do something very similar to that, probably without the ultra elite endurance. He's not the quickest type of bloke, but as I mentioned before, given the fact that it feels like he's always got that extra second, then that can make up a little bit for that lack of speed, I think. But look, a lot of it, I think, is to do with that body shape. He's now able to break more tackles. He's getting a fair bit of the peel as well. He works pretty well with Mitch Robinson on that wing, but he always seems to be more on that attacking side, whereas Robbo will take that defensive wing role as well. So, look, am I considering him? I'd love to, but probably not, given the fact that we've got another player from the Lions, Jared Lyons, who I'd probably have just ahead of him. But look, Huey at the moment, I think is he still winning the coaches' votes? I think he was last week. Anyway, winning the coaches' votes. His main issue in the Supercoach sense has been his consistency. So, he's always had a pretty good ceiling, can show a 135 type score, but then he can also punch out a 70-odd score as well. But I think it's been the last 5 weeks now that he hasn't gone under the ton. I don't think that Lachie Neale out has had a really positive effect on him. You've had Reece Matheson come into the team, attend a few CBAs, Dev Robertson here and there, attend some. So we've got a number of players that can go through the middle. So I still think that he'll play that wing role. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the wing role for Supercoach, particularly when you're paying, what is he, about 580K at the moment. I still think that he can continue to score really well. But if you're looking at that price point, you're probably taking him over a Guthrie, Bont, Jared Lyons, Jack Mcrae, Jack Steele type. And I couldn't really justify that. As much as I love Huey, I probably couldn't justify it at that price. As much as I'd love to and take a bit of a risk, probably not for me, mate. But I'll tell you what, I think he could be a Supercoach staple in the years to come if he can get that in more of an inside midfield role, I think. But love him as a player. The other thing is he's really professional as well. He's one of the most professional blokes around the club. He followed Lachie Neale around for the first couple of years that Neale was at the club, developed some really good habits. I know he already had some really good habits previously to that, but it's been well noted by many of the players that he's one of the most professional blokes there, really well liked around the club as well, a humble sort of a bloke. So he's got everything going for him. I think he's got, potential Brownlow in him. Along with a Walsh and a Rao type maybe in the next few years. But long story short, probably not for me at this stage, mate. But in a couple of years, I think he could be a fantastic pick.
Excellent insight there. So if as soon as we get the hint in the preseason that he's going to start playing inside, we're going to chuck him in the midfield.
I'd be all over him, mate.
So if you can do this on the wing, then what's he going to do on the inside? So yeah, it should be an interesting one to watch. But there's just, again, as you said, there's like your Steele types, the more inside types that are slightly more reliable at this stage. Spills, are you all aboard the Parish plane? I've got a few questions on this one, and what's he getting, like 40 touches a game just about the past few weeks? Or he's hit, I think, 39 and he had 40 in the Anzac game.
Yeah.
Are you all aboard, or what are you thinking with Darcy?
Oh, look, as a Essendon supporter, I'm all aboard because he's a future captain of our club and he leads by example. He's always up there. And, yeah, he has been. He got 39 on the weekend against Fremantle and he got 40 plus. The only other man to do that with Dane Swan in Anzac Day, which is really good. And, yeah, superstar of a player. But in a Supercoach side of things, probably not for now. Tends to butcher it on occasions. Only scored 125 from just under 40 touches. So definitely scaled down a fair bit. So I'm a bit skeptical on that one. But look, as a player, absolute superstar, but there are blokes I'd be picking probably far before him. If he still had forward DPP like he did last year, it'd probably be a no-brainer. But at this point in time, look, I need Bontempelli and Sam Walsh in my side in the midfield before Parrish. So that's probably what I would say on that one. But look, superstar player, and it took him a little bit longer to develop. He was drafted in, I think, 2016. I'm pretty sure he was taken like pick 5 or something like that. So he's been around for a while, but it's taken till now. Maybe a smoky pod next year, but not really on board as a Supercoach pick this year, I don't think. But love him as an Essendon supporter. Yeah, superstar of a player.
Okay, so it could be the disposal that hurts his scoring a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
I remember last year I was looking at him. He was a forward. His points per minute was always good, but they'd bench him for a long time, and then his disposal would let him down. So probably let this one go with Parrish, but yeah, pretty exciting for the Dons midfield coming through. Now we're going to go through. This is a Birdman, Josh Kelly. A lot of questions on Josh Kelly. Toby Green is out this week. Does that mean Leon wants to play him forward? That's the problem for me. I wouldn't touch Josh Kelly. Fully fit and in the right role. Probably a top 8 midfielder comfortably. But for me, there's the risk of, they said they like him at half forward. What if they throw him there? So that, and plus the injury risk, is a long history of soft tissue injuries this year. So DR, is Josh Kelly a player that you're looking at currently in the midfield? Only, what is he, 540k, something like that?
Look, is it a really tempting price point? But I'm pretty much the same with Kelly each year. If you look at his numbers, if you look at if you rank midfielders by average, he's always up there, around that top 8 mark. I think he's been one of the most consistent midfielders for average by the end of the season for the last 3 to 4 years. But then you look down at total points, and then he just goes right down the list, as you said, because of that durability. So I'm never a fan of starting Kelly. He's the sort of player I'd get with maybe a 4 or 5 rounds to go, maybe, if you're looking for an upgrade there, or you're dealing with an injury, if he's at a good price, because then obviously that durability risk lowers, I suppose. But it comes down to one question: do you trust Leon? And I just can't trust Leon. It's super tempting. I know as soon as Whitfield's come into the side, that's been a bit of a correlation with Kelly's change in role. I don't know if that's the only reason, part of the reason. I'm not too sure. But look, if we knew that he was going to continue that midfield role, I think it'd be a fantastic option. Even with that durability at the price, it's really hard to ignore. I think that makes that durability concern a little bit easier to deal with if you're getting him at a bargain price. But we've seen it for 3 weeks. Some people may think, well, that's enough data. We've seen him for 1, 2, now 3. But for me, I'm just still a little bit scared that he will move back into that role. And what are you going to do then? You can't really trade him out. If you trade him in, we won't have enough trades to be able to trade him out again. So you're making a commitment with him for the rest of the season, and you've got to be pretty certain that he's going to continue in that midfield friendly role. And if you ask me if I'm certain, I've, to be honest, got absolutely no idea. So it's a bit of a guessing game, a bit of an educated guess. So a tempting pick, but I probably couldn't do it myself, I don't think.
Yep. And Spills, I know you said you want Bont and Walsh in your midfield, so I'm guessing he's a no for you.
Yeah, probably wouldn't go there. Like I picked him last year and he burnt me to an absolute crisp, kind of like Heaney burnt you in 2019. So he's just one of those players where there's a little bit of frustration involved with it because, look, he does have Leon Cameron as a coach and he is vulnerable to a role change on top of being one of the most injury-prone and talented midfielders in the comp. So you get a little bit of everything with Josh Kelly. He's on a purple patch at the moment. What's to say that's going to consist over the rest of the year? And he could just fall down and shit the bed next week. You wouldn't know. And I think, look, if anyone's got any sort of insight on Josh Kelly, would be the one bloke that's not on the Skype call right now, and that's JD. He's the one that started with Josh Kelly, and he's probably got a little bit more of a take on that. So he'd probably be the one to ask, I reckon, at the end of the day.
On camera rants, they're the best.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you tune in for.
If you ever want to poke the bear, just mention Leon Cameron around JD and get him going.
Yep.
All right, so we need to order these last midfield question. Bontempelli, Mcrae, Lyons, Guthrie. Have a go at putting these guys in order. It's a tough one. I'm going to go first. Number 1, I have Bontempelli. It depends if Bont gets tagged or not, because for some reason he hasn't gotten tagged yet. Then I have Mcrae, then Lyons, then Guthrie. But you could put, I feel like you could put any of these players in any order. So yeah, Bont, Lyons, Guthrie, Mcrae. Have a go, dear.
Gee, this is a tough question, isn't it, mate? It's a really tough question because, look, to be honest, I'd love to have them all on my side. If you're running with these 4 blokes at the moment, then you're absolutely flying in your midfield. But look, as a Brisbane man, I find it really hard. It may be a little bit biased here, but Jared Lyons has just really impressed me lately. You know, he's just that strong over the ball. You probably, you know, you'd look at him and you wouldn't think that he's as strong as he is. But, you know, even on the weekend, there was a 7-second period where this bloke's got 3 possessions, a contested handball, give and get, off you go. So I'd probably have him number 1 with the added fact that he's a real point of difference, I think. That's another thing that I really like about the pick. Second, I'd probably have the Bont. I think that his ceiling is absolutely huge. The thing with Bont is, what I've noticed in seasons past is that he has dropped a couple of stinkers from time to time, which has allowed you to get him at a bit of a cheaper price. But looking at his form this year, it's just not looking like that's going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. So I'd have him next. Jack Mcrae, I've had as a must-have since round 2 this season, I think, so it's hard to go past him. And this isn't given enough respect, I don't think, to Cam Guthrie, but probably have him at number 4. But what's going to separate these blokes? You know, 2-3 points average by year's end. It's a really tough question, mate, but that's probably the order that I'd have. Look, I'm not sure when do we get Dangerfield back? I'm not too sure when he's back. Does he affect Guthrie's scoring? Possibly. I'm not too sure. But what do you think? Do you think he'll have much of an effect on Guthrie if he comes back, mate? Or
so today it came out that Dangerfield is going to come back after his bye, I think. Around 13, which is bad because I was planning to go without him in the forward line, and I don't think I'm going to have the trades to get him in now. But does he affect Guthrie? I don't know. I think, yeah, I said in my video, he scored like 100 and a 70 with Danger in the team, but I don't think it will make too much difference. Guthrie does a lot of, he gets ball off halfback, he gets involved in chains a lot. It's not just the clearance stuff with Guthrie. It's very high possessions that are everywhere around the ground. So while I'm not 100% sure, and that's why I have Guthrie 4th, but I don't think it will affect him. But it's possible though. But it's just hard to see just the way Guthrie plays. He just gets the ball everywhere basically. So Danger's more in and under. Guthrie's more the guy that gets it out of the contest, gets like the receives from what I've seen. He can still do both, but not entirely sure. But I don't think it will. Spills, who do you like out of the slot?
Look, it's for number 1. Look, personal bias here, but it's hard to go past the Q Clash medalist that was traded by Adelaide and delisted by the Suns in Jared Lyon.
That's
in
great,
possibly
mate.
The pod of the year, pod of the century almost. I mean, I can't. This is the last time I'll take credit for it, but picked him up for 1% ownership. And so, yeah, it's pretty hard to go past him. Doesn't have the highest ceiling, but I think he's the best pick of the bunch. And I'll once again remind you boys that he's currently sitting at M1. So, yeah, he's hard to go past. And, yeah, second on the list, it's got to be Bontempelli. Look, he's probably got the highest ceiling and really unlucky not to have won a Brownlow medal by now. Just, yeah, unbelievable the way he plays. He can do just about everything. And, It's amazing how stacked the Dogs are midfielders, but he still finds a way to get the coach's vote. So, superstar of a player, and one I'm spewing that I don't have, and then that leaves me with Welsh at number 3, who is unreal. Like, he's the chosen one, but look, probably a few years away from being that actual like uber elite, like top 3 midfielder, but he's heading in the right direction. And look, number 4 is a little bit of I thought it was a good honourable mention would be probably Clayton Oliver. Look, he's just been so consistent all season, just wins all the hard ball and hasn't stepped a foot wrong. So that'd probably be my order, I'm pretty sure. And not much would change that, I don't think.
Add a couple of names there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Oliver could actually get to that 120 range, I think, the way he's going. He plays the Crows this week, and the Crows do not have a matchup for him. So I think last time we tried to tag him with Sloan, tried to tag him with Keys. They lasted 5 minutes on Oliver and then just let him get 150 to 200 points. I think it was 200 last year. I can't remember. It was either 150 or 200, but either way. There's just so many plays that are going 115 plus in the midfield. But yeah. So a lot of Lyons love going on at the moment. I think you guys must be, I know you guys call each other a bit, so I think it's a lot of discussion about your...
You don't want to know, mate.
At Lyons.
And George, just quickly, mate, obviously Mcrae's tapered off scoring-wise the last few weeks. Can you see any patterns or a reason why you think that might be the case? Because, we've seen, 3-4 weeks of that 130, 140 type scores. Can you put it down to something in particular, George, that the reason for that, I suppose, downward spiral, you wouldn't call it a downward spiral, but compared to what we saw earlier in the season, it's been a little bit disappointing the last few weeks, is Mcrae.
Yeah, he's gone from mid-hundreds to, or mid-120s to mid-100 scores. The only thing I can think of is the obvious one is the number 1 Supercoach player in the league is now injured in Josh Dunkley. So I remember I rang Trade Radio last year and they said, I said Dunkley's worth 2 top 10 picks. And they said, and Gillian de Scoop said, but Dunkley's only good because he plays with Mcrae and Bont. And I didn't say anything, but I wish I said it's the other way around. Because Dunkley's in and under, although Lib is sort of doing the similar job to Dunkley at the moment, so he's playing really well. But yeah, it's because you see Mcrae, he's the one that usually spreads from the contest a lot, and he'll get the receive, and then he'll pass to Treloar, and Treloar will run into the forward 50. That happens so much on the weekend, or just like every game. So is it Dunkley? I'm not sure, because when Mcrae wasn't scoring as well last year, it was because Bevo was spinning magnets and throwing him on a wing. But this year, he's still getting the inside mid-time, so it's still Jack Mcrae. He's been, a top 2-3 midfielder for 3-4 years straight, so... still, if you don't have him, you still want to get him in. If you do have him, you don't do anything. So the only thing I can think of is Josh Dunkley, but one to monitor and one that, I wouldn't be captaining Jack Mcrae until those numbers go back up for the time being. So that's really the only thing I can think of, but I think it's crossed for us, for owner's sake, that he can get back to his best, but it's fine. I think he'll be gettable if you don't have him now, which is probably okay. Because it's looking pretty harsh early days, but taped off a bit. So we'll move on to the forward line, and I'm a big fan of the budget forwards. A lot of them are 450k, but there's also Zorko there as well. We'll touch on him, but I think the big one this week is Dustin Martin for 420k. Is he one you want to get in? You boys both have Dusty, right?
Yeah. I think we got him at the same time, didn't we, Spills? Just before the price rise, I got him. Did you get him in start of week 3? So
we both got burnt at the same time with Phillips, and you had danger. I can't remember what happened, but we did the exact same trades. No, it was Neil to Ridley. We went Ridley and Martin. Both of us did it the exact same trades. Yeah. So round 3 got him.
Because in the first few rounds, even though I didn't have him, it was just so good watching him play, because he was just unreal. But then I'm not sure, he was disinterested for a bit. Minor foot injury he was playing through. Had a week off and got concussed as well. But for 420k, Dustin Martin, is he someone you would bring in, knowing that you've watched him dish up some rubbish so far. Is he one you feel confident in going forward if you were to grab him for this price, DR?
I would, mate, to be quite honest. Look, he hasn't set the world on fire, but at the end of the day, it is Dusty. We know that he goes through these periods where it looks like he's a little bit off. I don't know if it's a lack of effort. Look, that foot injury has obviously been hampering lately. But look, if I hadn't have seen a 120-ish type score from him on the weekend, if he had have delivered another 70-odd type score, I'd probably be in a little bit of a different camp, I suppose, and maybe just wait on him. But when you're looking at some of the names in the forward line this year that we're considering, I think he's almost too good to pass up at that price. He didn't look like he was hampered all over the weekend. Thought he had a really big impact on the game. I think without Dusty, the Tigers probably don't get up in that game. I think he really was the difference. And given the fact they do have a fair few injuries now, I think that he really does need to step up. So look, at the prices he's at the moment, it's going to be pretty hard not to select him, I think. So if I didn't own Dusty at his price, I'd look to get him in, I think, George.
Spills?
Yeah, look, Dusty for sure. He's clearly got the highest ceiling of the bunch, and look, he's not going to get much lower, is he, in price? Let's be honest. So look, I don't really like. It's one of those things because I'm pretty sure he's just scraping 60% ownership. So there won't be many blokes other than yourself, George, that didn't actually have him. So probably a bit of a tricky one because ownership's already high enough as it is. But it'd be Dusty for sure. But well, if not, I don't know. I like Hind as well. He looks really good. I know you're all about Hind as well. So it's tough to say. There's a few on the bubble, but yeah, if you don't have Dusty, he's by a length of the Flemington Straight, I'd be getting him in before anyone else at that price.
I'm bringing Dusty and Nick Hind in this week. With Dusty, I still don't fully trust him for some reason, just because still not halfway through the season yet. It makes me a tad nervous, but I think for 420, he's so cheap. I just want to get it over with. Suits the price. I can't get anyone over 430k if I'm getting Hind in as well. So he's one where the price suits. I'm well prepared to cop some rubbish from him. But we know he's best player, one of the best players ever. So 10 years of 90 plus or something. So, and he had a full preseason. So no reason why he can't go 90 plus from here. Sometimes his role it's a bit weird because, at the end of a stoppage, he'll just he won't chase his man. He'll just walk forward, and then sometimes he might not see the ball for a bit. So that can hurt him a little bit. And whereas his Brownlow year, he was more around the ball, more his tackle numbers were up. So sometimes that can contribute to dud scores, but 420k high ceiling, you're going to get some big games probably from him, hopefully. So yeah, he's in for me. But if you can't get him for 420k, and even though if he goes up a little bit, I wouldn't panic too much because I think he's almost just as likely to throw in like an 80 score than a 120 score, if that makes sense. Yep. So I wouldn't panic if you don't have him. But 420k, why not?
Yeah.
Now Aaron Hall and Nick Hind. So I was disgusted with the whole pick. I nearly kicked JD off the podcast. I don't know if you heard that podcast, but I nearly kicked him off when he said Aaron Hall. I'm all over this pick. It took me a week, and I was like, you know what, you might be right here. Still early, so fingers crossed he stays fit. But at it, still 450k, low break even, fantastic role off halfback, and he plays it really, really well. Really good kick, run and dash, good decision maker. Risk though because he had a minor groin injury in the preseason. Had a leg injury, so missed a lot of 2019, I think. It was like a contact injury, and then also had a bit of a mental health break. And just in general, he's been inconsistent for, he's 30 now. He's never really put, at least half a season together of really consistent football from memory. And then there's Nick Hind as well. One of my favourites, Nick Hind. I nearly started him. I was really close, but went for Atkins instead. But what I knew is that he'd had a 110 average plus in the VFL in 2018. Was sixth in the Brownlow medal, whatever it's called in the VFL, and played from memory every game. So that provided enough support for me to say, even though he didn't take kickouts, that he had scoring power in him. And with the forward line, just give me 90 and be done with it. So I know you have Hull now. Are you happy with that pick? And also, is Nick Hind one you want to bring in? Knowing especially that we got Danger might be low 500s after the bye. Is he someone you're looking at?
Yeah, well, Hall I did bring in last week, George, and it's funny. The week before, I had him as a trap in the stock market, so I've gone from trap to buy now. But look, I know JD was a big fan. I had a look at the numbers. Look, with Hall, we knew the risks attached with the pick, but I felt that the upside outweighed those risks. And we know about his durability, his consistency with his form. But I think with the new role that he's got now, that's going to allow him to be more consistent, I think. I just love the way he uses it. I think he's the preferred option to deliver out of the defensive line now, which has hurt Jay-Z a little bit down back. So I still think at the price that you're paying for him, for his potential upside and ceiling, that I'd still look to get Aaron Hall in. But when you get him, the risks attached to him. So if he does go down, then don't be overly surprised. But I think the value is probably still there to be able to pick him. And Nick Hind, I'll be honest, I've never been a huge fan of Nick Hind. I've always had him that sort of peg below the top forwards that I'd like to select. But given the fact Dangerfield may be back now, it may change my mind back a little bit. But just before the podcast, Spills and I were having a bit of a chat, and I think I may even look to get Hind in this week as a single trade. So a Powell or using some DPP or even a Warner to Hind probably makes sense for me this week. And you gave some great stats before, George, given the fact that he's played this role in the VFL. He scored really, really well. And what I really loved over the weekend was that 120 plus score. I really wanted to see him do that to balance out some of the lower scores that he can get. And when we say lower scores, they're not shockers, are they? They're around that sort of 80 mark, which you can live with. So I'm actually really coming towards Hind and really looking to possibly get him in this week, because I think he's got some really good things going for him. Look, don't expect 100 plus scores every week, but if he can go around to 90 to 100, I suppose I'll be pretty happy at the price that I pay. I think got an okay buy as well. So I'm all for Nick Hind and all for Aaron Hall. I like both the picks, to be honest, mate, this week.
Yep. Now, Spills, Aaron Hall, or I think I should start calling him Gucci Adam Sard, Nick Hind.
Gucci Adam Sard.
Do you miss Adam Sard, or do you think Nick Hind's doing better? I know that's all over Twitter at the moment and people are getting sick of that discussion, but are you happy with Nick Hind at the Bombers over at Sard? Or
look, for what we lost, like for Adam Sard, I mean, look, he's a player that's getting paid $800,000 a year to a player that's getting paid $300,000 a year. That's playing the exact same role. And if anything, I reckon Nick Hind's doing that a lot better than Sard is at Carlton currently. So I think we got off really good there, and we gained, I think it was Nick Cox as a pick. I'm not sure what pick it was that we got for Sard, but I'm pretty sure it was him. And yeah, really, really happy with him. And well, from a Supercoach side of things, his run and carry is just unreal. Meters gained, he takes the game on, usually pretty effective. And whenever he gets the ball, something always happens, and that's always going to give you points in Supercoach. So, yeah, I really rate him as a player and as a pick. A bloke that Essendon basically got for chips. So, yeah, really, really like Nick Hind. And if I could get him in this week, I would, but I double downgraded last week so I could get Tom Stewart in for Kazitsky, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, look, unfortunately, I can't get him in at the moment. Still got plenty of coin to be made in the forward line. So, look, going to have to hold off for now. But, yeah, super, super selection, I reckon. Yeah, love him. Love him as a pick, Nick Hind.
I am biased. Got to be wary of that. I've sort of tempered my expectations to think I think he'll go low 90s from here on out, which for me is okay for 450k. But there is upside, as we saw on the weekend. So his numbers are getting better and better. So fingers crossed he can continue his form. But yeah, happy with the pick, and I'm actually confident in him. Much more confident than I am when I got CJ and Bose at the time. But I'm happy with Nick Hind. So Joey Danaher is playing a bit of ruck time and playing pretty well at the moment. Apart from that 25 game, he's probably averaging 90 or something. I can't believe I didn't start Joe. Hindsight should have. But yeah, full preseason. I think he did miss a session or something in the preseason. So magically gone from most injury player in the league to Iron Man somehow. But we'll see how he goes over the next few weeks. Man, this is actually a pretty bad miss, I think, because he's not averaging that much less than Impey, I think.
Impey.
Like, what, 10 points less or something? So if you had Joe Danaher, would you be keeping him or looking to move him on during the buys?
Look, it's a tough one. Look, I know that he did spend a bit of time travelling around the top of Australia at the end of the season, and he didn't actually go back to Victoria. So he got someone to send all his belongings up. So he was really keen to get right into training, did a few extra sessions. So I think Chris Fagan said that Joey and one other player, I forget who the other bloke was, did the most work in the pre-season, so completed the most sessions, which was absolutely fantastic from a Lions supporter's point of view. I think what's really helped him this year is that ruck relief role as well, getting around the ball, some easy touches, still hitting the scoreboard as well. Look, in regards to, is he a keeper? I think things will have to go pretty well for him. It's going to be interesting to see what we do this week, because we had Froggy Lester go down, who's sort of that third tall. Darcy Gardner's out for us as well this week. And normally our backups, like Jack Payne, for example, he's injured. So we are down a few key tools at the moment. So I think what really helped Joey this year is when Dan McStay came into the side. He's a really underrated player for Brisbane. It's really what he does for our structure. So when we had Tom Fullerton in the side, he just wasn't up to scratch in regards to really holding that structure and giving a solid option. So I think when McStay's come back into the side, particularly playing down forward, then that has helped Joey. Now, I just don't know what we're going to do in our defensive line. It could be someone like a Connor Ballenden that comes back in, or else someone like a Dan McStay may even be needed to go back, because we do have Andrews and Marcus Adams at the moment that can probably take Rewalt or a Lynch. I'm not sure if Richmond will play another key tool down there, where he may need to move another tool down back. But yeah, look, for me, it's a little bit dicey given his durability, but there's no signs that he's slowing up at all. We've seen what's happened with Link McCarthy, Grant Birchall, even Hodgie managed to get on the park at a really, I suppose, tender age of 35, whatever it was. So look, for me, I wouldn't be banking on him as a keeper, but maybe look to get him as your last forward upgrade if you've got maybe a luxury trade. But I wouldn't be completely against him, having him as an F6, but I wouldn't be overly confident that he's going to make it that far. But look, okay for now. I certainly wouldn't look to do anything with him for now, but if he drops a couple of 60s, then it may be tough to keep on to him, I think, mate.
Interesting insight that McStay is affecting him. Interesting one. Spills, I know it might be hard. I don't know if you've watched if you've watched Joe, it might be hard for you. I don't know if you're happy for him or not. Do you have any thoughts on Joe this year?
Nah, stuff him.
Yeah.
Nah, I watched him play one game, and that was him absolutely carve it to shreds against Essendon in the wet. And look, that's another thing on Joey that, look, I think he plays his best footy in the rain. Like, he loves a long goal for Skidder in the goal square. They put him in the ruck, and he dominated against us. And look, if you start with Danaher, he was another one that I shied away from my team update to my actual team reveal, which I probably should have selected in hindsight. But in terms of a keeper, look, end of the day, he's a key forward, and look, I know we're thin with forward players, but if he can, I'm not sure what he's priced at the moment. I haven't actually. Do you guys know? Yeah, so it's one of those things. Look, you could probably hold him for a while, but if you want to trade him to someone that's like him to Dusty would be the perfect trade, or even Hind if you want to go there and haul. Like, they're those guys that you can bank on being potential top 6 forward players. Where Danaher, I think he's got a little bit too many poor games in him than he does good games at times. Like, as a key forward, he's not going to have his day all the time. I'm always a bit sceptical on that, and we saw that with Tex Walker, who was flying, and now he can't get past 30. So, look, he can't even get a game. So, not to say it's going to happen with Joey, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did at some point in the year, whether or not it happens sooner or later. But, like, just to cap it off, I wouldn't back him in as a top 6 forward player, but probably one of the best stepping stones all year, alongside Zeeble, who is another player that you could probably consider trading to an uber premium midfielder if you wanted to. I'm not against that, but yeah, it just depends on your structure. I wouldn't consider him as a keeper though, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm with you boys. Probably not a keeper. And as DR said, maybe like your final upgrade. Maybe Dangerfield's 520, Danaher's 430, 90, 100k upgrade done.
Yeah, good work.
Now, we'll speak about Isaac Heaney. He's 340k. So what I'll say about Isaac Heaney is when you boys want to buy a gift from the store, say you got like, I don't know, Mother's Day gift, Father's Day gift or something, you go on say like Amazon or Catch of the Day or whatever. But if you want like the worst stuff, if you want, you're really struggling really bad, where do you go?
Wish.
This is the forward line, the Wish pick of the forward line. Today it comes out that, so they're wondering why Heaney is, John Longmire had to say today that he pulled up all right because he's come back, he punched someone, broke his hand, and then he somehow had an ankle injury. That's Isaac Heaney. Okay?
Oh.
Forget it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I know he's 340k. He breaks down. His role is significantly worse than previous years because he's been a mid and forward in previous years. This year, he said in the preseason, I'm predominantly a forward. He can't score well in losses. Again, scored well on the weekend because he played Collingwood. Scored well early in the year because Sydney, they played Adelaide. And they were winning a lot more earlier. It's not worth it. Don't put yourself through this. And then when he goes down, then what do you do? 340k. You go to what? Is anyone even at that price? I don't know. So it's not worth it. Don't do it. So yeah, it's broke. It's a broken pick. It's like when I bought a bow tie from Wish once because I needed it for a party. What happens? The paint scrapes off. It was $2. Anyway.
Oh, that's a classic. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you on here. It's like, look, he's a really talented player. We're not knocking his talent here. We're not knocking his talent. But yeah, every time he flies up front of those marks, you're just worried. Your heart's in your mouth that he's going to land awkwardly. It's like he could roll his ankle or break his ankle walking over a little pebble. He's just one of those blokes that's so injured. Like a Jordan De Goey. I've had a few questions about him lately. Is De Goey worth a shot? Absolutely not. De Goey, Heaney, just don't stress yourself out. Don't go there. Save yourself a trade. Save yourself the hassle. I know he's cheap. He's around that 350 mark. He's been a premium in seasons past in a way, but I just would not look to go there whatsoever. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No. Spills, what do you reckon? Isaac Heaney, 340k.
I find myself really reminiscing about Supercoach when we discuss Heaney because I used to follow your content a while. I still do, but when I discovered you, it was not very long before the Heaney sequel of the I'm trading in Heaney, I'm trading out Heaney, the lie John Longmire segment, and if you guys are on the fence of selecting Heaney as a value pick, yeah, that's fine, but I reckon, George, you should chuck in both links to those videos in the description for people who are indecisive on this selection to maybe reconsider that one and watch your content. I think it was about round 4 or 5 in 2019 or something like that. It was pretty early. It was our F2 and he just shut the bed, mate. It was all over and but then his ceiling's too high for his own injury proneness. So it's like, yeah, this guy's going to get injured every 2 months, but he's going to kick 6 goals straight against Adelaide. So, I mean, the temptation is inevitable, but you wouldn't go there. I mean, just don't do it, man. Don't do it. Because I've been burnt by him not as many times as you, but probably one you probably won't forget.
Never again, Isaac Heaney. 340k for a reason. I think he's been playing poorly the past few weeks, except for it was okay on the weekend against Collingwood, bottom 3 team. But yeah, he had that hand issue. I think that was hurting him a little bit. So
That's right.
look, 340k, I think he can average 80. Ugh, I don't even know, to be honest. I don't trust him in that predominant forward role. Plus, is he still sore? He had that ankle. Is he fully over that ankle and the hand issue? I'm not sure. It's not worth it, as you guys said. But yeah, when I traded him in and out, I feared his ceiling. I thought he was a top 5 talent in the league, and he was finally coming good. I said, I've got to have him. Then I'm like, oh, he's injured. Got to get rid of him. Oh, he's not injured anymore. Got to get him. Oh, he's injured again. Get rid of him. So, yeah, thanks for reminding me about that, Spills.
It's fine, mate.
That's right. We'll move on. So we can go to rookies now. So, yeah, we have the rookies to discuss, and then we'll have some general questions. So, I think about 7 more. Tom Power, trade or hold? I remember Sam Walsh 2 years ago. I traded him out before the buys because his break even was high, and then he pops like a 140 out of nowhere. And I'm not sure Power has that in him. But he's one where even though his break even is high, he's one you can hold throughout the buys, I think. But he might drop a little bit of money just because that early buy might be helpful. But at the same time, we want his money now to do upgrades. So I think you can hold him if you want. I'm not against that. I think I'm going to trade because I need to save every cent I can. And I think Jumont's back, so I'm not sure if that affects him. I don't think the CBA's thing has come out, so I want to check that. But for the most part, I think it's fine to trade or hold. But for me, I'm going to trade. DR?
I pretty much echo your thoughts there. I think, George. I'm probably leaning towards trading this week, I think. Look, I think his break-even's around the 100 mark. He's capable of going a 90, 100. We've certainly seen that in the past. But the issue for me is if we're talking about cash gen, then that 45 is obviously going to be in his price cycle for the next couple of weeks. And it's going to be really hard to maintain that price. And in a year where it's really hard to get cash gen, I'm not a huge fan of holding. But I suppose if you asked me this question last week, I'm probably in the camp of hold up until the buys. But when you have this 45 that's rolling in your system, it does make things a little bit more difficult. I think if, just say you've got your 6 premium midfielders, for example, and you've got, Powell, Jordan, and RCD, then I'd be more confident to trade him, given the fact that you can maybe pop RCD on field. Or else if you're looking to upgrade Powell, that's okay as well. But yeah, either way, I think it's okay. But personally, I'm probably looking to trade this week, I think. But as you said, arguments either way. I'm okay either way.
Spills, trade or hold?
Look, I'm in a different camp, I reckon. I think hold. And the reason for that is I think he covered that really well with Sam Walsh. I know it's a tough comparison. We're not in no way, shape or form comparing Powell to Welsh, but we have seen in previous years where if a player has a high break even, doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be a good field option. I know Powell scored 45, but look what he's done before that. I think he went like a couple of 70s here and there. He's hit the ton already. I think it went about 3 80s in a row or something like that. He's matching Jordan. They have the exact same overall average. And the one thing I like about Powell is he has the best buy, and I know it's a bit outrageous and it could be either brave or stupid, but I'm actually considering having him on the bench over his bye because he's going to be so beneficial to have over that round 14 bye or maybe even round 13 because I've got a lot of round 13 players in the midfield with that bye, like Lyons, Mcrae, Zeret, like a few midfielders that could result in a donut. But having Powell there is really good coverage, and I know he's going to lose money probably, but it's not to say he's going to be a good field option as well. And I think 21% of sides have actually traded him. And imagine that, and then he keeps up his solid average. And if you rule out the 45 he had, he's probably still in the mix for holding. But I'm not sure. I'm a bit different on that. But I completely understand why you would trade him. I might cop a bit of flack for that one, but that's sort of what I reckon. I rate him as a pick for sure.
No, I agree. He's still a field option, and he's going to get you more points during the buys if you hold him. Yeah, all my players in that midfield, none of them are that early buy. There's only really Mitchell and Guthrie, I think, in that early buy. So
That's it, yeah.
I have to think about it. Yeah. we'll see if Flynn plays or not. That might affect my decision making, but yeah, I think it's fine. As you guys both brought up good points. It's either way. It's fine to hold. It's okay to trade. It might hurt you a little bit if he starts playing really well again, like he has before this week. But you just with rookies, you just never know. Is he slowing down, or is it just a bad game? So I'm not sure. But yeah, either way seems fine. Now there's no downgrade options this week, so unless you go early on a Briggs, O'Connor, or somebody else, Ralph Smith, I wouldn't be going early on any of those players. If you are absolutely desperate, I think O'Connor will get a few games, but I'm not 100% sure. It'll be performance dependent. But the other options are Poulter and RCD. I have Poulter, not RCD, which isn't great. I know, DR, in your video, I think you were getting RCD this week. What are your thoughts on getting these players at a 170, 180k? Are you sure? Do you know if you're going to get them in or not? Or, would you recommend it? What are your thoughts?
No, certainly not set in stone, and maybe even leaning away from that a little bit now, mainly because, Spills and I traded in R2D2 a couple of weeks ago. And the reason why I paid up for him was I thought I'm paying up for job security in the North back line. He's averaging, around the mid-60 mark. I'm happy to pay up the 170 for him. But that's turned into an absolute train wreck short term. But look, with RCD, the way that I was thinking about it is the fact that there are no, well, in my opinion anyway, no great obvious downgrade options coming up in the next week or two. And if I was to trade out someone like a Powell, I'm making about 180 to 200k on that. I still feel that I can use RCD on field as well. So I don't feel that by trading Powell for RCD, I'm going to lose a heap of points on field, because I think that they could go around the same mark. But at the same time, how much money is he got to make? I don't know. I think short term his job security is looking all right. I'm talking next sort of 2 to 3 weeks. But after that, I'm really not too sure. But I suppose what's making me think about it anyway, consider the option, is the fact that there are just simply no other options that I'm confident in downgrading to. So I'm really on the fence at the moment, but I'm certainly going to consider it. I'm going to look at the numbers a little bit more. Look, I know that he attended the most CBAs for Richmond, which I think is a really good sign for him. We want our midfielders attending CBAs, particularly rookies. Attending CBAs is a good tackler. He hit the scoreboard on the weekend as well. So I think there are some really positive signs, but I wouldn't be bringing RCD in for example, a Brockman, because you're not really making anything. You have to pay up a little bit more. But I could stomach it if it was for someone like a Warner with DPP, or even a Powell with DPP, given the fact that they have almost maxed out in their price. So I'm considering it purely because of the fact that it does allow me to get some more cash in the bank. But not sold. I'm probably 50-50 at this stage. So tough decision this week, mate. Tough decision.
Do you have both of these players, Spills?
What's that? RCD and who?
RCD and Poulter. Would you get them in?
I double downgraded. Instead of going Hall, I double downgraded to those two, banked 350k to get Stewart this week.
So would you get them in at this elevated price if you didn't have them?
It's hard to say. Like, I'll try and put myself in your shoes in a way, and like, if Dio, if I was in your stock market video, for example, I'd probably have the ship icon on RCD, despite such a good game from him. He did put an absolute stinker up in his first game, and it's really tough to say. He's playing with arguably one of the toughest teams to crack as a rookie in Supercoach, which makes it really hard. Look, I know he's been around since he was drafted in the bloody second round of the Super Draft, wasn't he? He's got a high ceiling in that asset. But look, for 180k, I can't stop thinking about that Boston Vilagi trade that went horribly wrong when I paid up 175k for him on his ceiling and his job security, and the fact that, like RCD, he's been around for a year or so and got the runs on the board, but it wasn't meant to be. And if you paid up 180k for RCD and he gets dropped in the next couple of weeks or so for some unknown reason, for a Jack Ross or someone that's on the bubble tearing up in the VFL, you'd be absolutely kicking yourself. And from experience, it's an absolute horrible feeling, and I probably wouldn't do it personally, but 123k all over him. But look, that was last week, and I think he probably a little bit too late. Sort of how I missed Chad Warner at the start of the year, and I had to pay up top dollar for him, but that's because his form was almost like Sam Welsh in 2019. Like, it was just off the chart, but we haven't seen enough from RCD yet, just the 188. So, look, it's tough to say because his first game was so bad that I probably wouldn't go there unless you're really desperate.
It's just, I suppose I'm just worried about where's my cash gen going to come from, you know? So if I don't go down to someone like an RCD this week, you know, there's no guarantee on some of these blokes that have just played the 1 week. So I suppose that's my main way of thinking, you know, when considering someone like an RCD, is the fact, well, how else am I going to generate some cash? Obviously, you've got to downgrade to generate cash. And where am I going to downgrade to? You know, I suppose, it's how what your predictions are for these blokes that have just played the one game. You know, do you expect them to have good short-term job security? If you don't, I don't see many other rookies on the horizon. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how else am I going to generate this cash if I don't get RCD in? And I just can't see anyone coming up on the horizon. So I know George's mentioned, was it Josh Worrell, I think, that may be looking to get a game soon. It's not obviously confirmed yet. It's a lot of guesswork at this stage, I think. So rather than having to do all the guesswork, maybe just taking this while it's available, having to stomach the fact that you need to pay up for him a little bit more. But at the same stage last week, I did decide to upgrade to a Hall, and I still made a bit of cash there as well. So I'm also taking that into consideration, the fact that I made 40 odd K off Hall last week. So it's a really tough decision. What are you thinking, George? What's your thoughts about that one?
Just quickly on Worrell, that's a half pipe dream for Crow supporters. But with our rookies, when they play, they stay in. You know, look at Chase Jones and McHenry last year. Some of them were getting less than 5 touches, and they still stayed in the game. So I think expect O'Connor to stay in, and if Worrell plays, I'm pretty confident he'll stay in. So what you raise is pretty interesting with RCD, because like if you're struggling, if you're thinking I'm trying to finish my team and first of all, I need money now to downgrade to, and second of all, I need more money later on. When you put it that way, I think it's fine, because you're going to get 3 price rises at least at an RCD, and he's at least he's a chance of playing after the buys. I thought he was very low chance playing after the buys, given what he did on the weekend. A bit more confidence. He's played 3 very difficult teams. Now he plays Brisbane this week as well. So given that, I think he's a reasonable chance. You know, look at the landscape here. There's not a whole lot. There's nothing else pretty much. And he's an on-field option. But I think you can do it. If it makes sense, if you need the money to downgrade to now. And, you know, when you downgrade him, you get that money back later anyway, even though he's 180K. When you downgrade him, you'll get that 60K extra back that you paid, if you put it that way. But I think it's fine. I'm not doing it. I've got bows to deal with. And I think I'm happy with my cash gen. I think Highmore, Murphy, a few others making a bit of money. So in your situation, I think it makes sense. But I think it's fine to pass. But yeah, he's probably the best option, even at 180K this week. So I think it's fine.
And just quickly, while you mentioned that the Lions are playing the Tigers this week, if you look at Dusty's history against Brisbane, he has absolutely destroyed us. So I think that also adds to the flavour of getting Dusty in this week. The fact that I think he's averaging around the 130s against us over the past 3 games. So okay. I think that really adds to the to the Dusty factor, bringing him in this week.
Yeah, that's a good start. I like that.
I've written off the Tigers before, and it's never worked, but I struggle to see how Richmond, with 5 starting midfielders out, can take it up to Brisbane at home. But I could be wrong. I'm always wrong on this.
I hope you're right, mate, being a Brisbane supporter. I hope you're really right.
But yeah, we'll see. I guess the Baker and RCD played a really good role in the midfield, so maybe it's not a huge loss for them, because they got some cover there. But yeah, with RCD, I think it's fine if you get him. Last question on rookies. Butts, Flynn, and Warner. Should we be cashing in these guys now, or are you happy to wait through the buys? I think with Flynn, it's probably separate. If Flynn doesn't get a game this week, I'm happy to cut him. If not, hold. But what about Butts and Warner? Are these? I know you traded Butts for Murphy DR, which is fine because Butts hasn't really made that much money since you got rid of him. He's capped now 330, 340. And then Warner as well. We can hold him throughout the buys. Are these plays you're looking to hold on to? I'm going to hold on to one of them because I've got Murphy, Highmore, Poulter now. They all have that last buy. I got too many plays with that buy, so I got to get rid of one of them. They're maxed out in price, so for me it's get rid of. You can get rid of them if you want, but what do you think, DR? Get rid of.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, get rid of.
Pretty much the same, I think. It also depends on if you're looking to downgrade them or upgrade them. So if you're looking to downgrade Butts, I don't think there are a heap of good downgrade options, but there are a few good upgrade options, I think. Warner had always planned on holding until the buys, but it's looking like I'll probably have to use him to make an upgrade because there's not many of my other rookies that are ready to cash in. So I'm looking at my bench. I've got R2, which was a terrible pick. Waterman, Rowe isn't ready to trade out yet. The back line, as I mentioned before, your Murphys, Mansell, Highmore types. So I think these are probably the rookies that you're looking to trade out to upgrade because they're probably at the optimal price to do so. Whereas lots of the other rookies that I've got at the moment just aren't ready to cash in. So I think if they're allowing you to upgrade to a nice premium, then I've got no trouble. But at the same time, they're the type of blokes that are going to be the most reliable rookies, I think. And look, if in an ideal world, I'd love to hold Warner up until his buy and flip him then. But I just don't think that I'll have the luxury to do it. I think I'll have to probably bite the bullet and get him out a little bit beforehand, I think.
Yep. Spills, do you still have Warner? And if so, are you looking to move him on?
I chopped him a couple of weeks ago for Poulter. Was it? No, last week, yeah. No, I downgraded him to Poulter. That's what I did. And then I downgraded Berry to RCD. So, yeah, I think you probably get rid of Warner. As you said, you covered that really well. He's got that pretty terrible buy. So, I think if you can get as many of those round 14 buy rookies off the field as possible, which there are quite a few, that is more than ideal. So, he'd probably be the one, I think, Chad Warner. I know Butts has that buy too, but he's perfect bench coverage and he's got the best job security of any rookie in the whole league. And he's one that I missed for sure. That was a bad miss by me. And if I had Butts, I'd probably hold him majority of the year, maybe last upgrade, and I'd have him at D7, I reckon, unless I was absolutely desperate. So probably Warner, he'd be the one to go, I reckon.
I think Warner's actually got a good fixture coming up though as well. That's probably something you need to take into consideration. I think it's pretty friendly in the next 3 odd weeks. I forget off the top of my head exactly who he's playing, but I'm pretty sure I do remember he's got a pretty friendly fixture. So that may sway you possibly again. And we know that he's got the ceiling in him. Got a great role, in the midfield at Sydney. Yeah, it's a really tough one. Arguments either way, I think. And it's also a bit team dependent, I think, as well.
He hasn't shown a lot in the past few weeks, Warner, but he's capable though. So I think I'm holding him for one more week and then we'll see how we go next week, but he's probably going to hold price. So now to some general questions. So how many trades left should we have once we're full premium? And look, I'm planning maybe I have another 1 or 2 injuries down the track until I'm finished my team. So I think I'm planning to finish my team with 4 trades remaining from here on out. So those are for injuries. I think ideally you want 2 remaining after the bye, although that's probably cutting it. I'd probably say maybe 3 you'd prefer with a finished team. Do you guys think you'll get to full premium and have 2 or 3 trades left, or what are you guys thinking in regards to how many trades you have left with a full team?
Well, I'm hoping I will. And similar to you, George, in the last few weeks, most of my trading options have been those value options. So your Halls, Brayshaw, May types. And the reason why I've focused on those value options now is to allow myself to hopefully get to full premium. We can't afford to be spending 600 to 650k on all these midfielders at the moment. I just don't think that it's going to be viable. So I think if you've been smart and brought in a little bit of value over the last month or 2, then you've got a better chance of being able to finish your team with full premium. But I'd ideally like to, similar to you, have 4 trades after I've completed my side. You always need a couple for injury and maybe a luxury sideways if all things go well. But I'd be a little bit nervous having, I suppose, the 2 trades. You'd want more than 2, I'd say.
What do you reckon, Spills?
Yeah, at least 2 trades, I reckon. Look, I've completed my side before with no trades, but that's costly because sometimes, like last year, I had to hold Tim Taranto. It was my last upgrade. No, it was over here or Walters. They were my 2 last upgrade targets, and they were terrible. And I think when I got them in, I had 0 trades, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I'm notorious from just scraping over the line. Like 2019 was my best season, believe it or not. I finished in top 2, I think 2 or 3%. I can't actually remember. And I had Noah Answorth at D6 because I fell short with trades. So ideally, I'd say at least 2, and you're laughing. But in a perfect world, I'd probably like to have 4 trades with a completed side if you are lucky enough with injuries and salary cap and all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah, I've done the same. I've had 0 trades left, and there's 4 weeks to go, and I'm relying on a rookie DPP holding the cover together, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I shouldn't be able to get away with that the past 2 years, but I have. So yeah, definitely need some up your sleeve. Final question is, do I need to field 18 in every week for the buy rounds? My round 14 buy, it's going to get pretty ugly. Right now, I have 15. With trades, it might get to 16 or 17. But I'm actually aiming for 16 that buy, just because things go wrong and stuff like that. The other 2 buys, I should have 18 and 19 playing. For me, I think it's okay to not field 18. Just this year, it's quite difficult because, Finn, Mcrae's dead, Waterman's dead. Can't really, Brockman. I've traded out Brockman, but that was kind of a luxury. Then, we never know with Highmore. So I think it's okay. Look, 16, it's going to hurt in the ranks a little bit. But, if it's a rookie that's covering, that rookie's probably going to give you like a 50 or a 60 anyway. So I'm going to cop it in one of the buy rounds and just not much I can do about it. I'm not going to use trades to get an extra premium in for like trade out a premium. I don't have that luxury. So are you guys okay? Do you guys think you'll field 18 in every round? Have you looked at it much, or are you comfortable with where you're at in the buy rounds, DR?
Look, I'm not overly comfortable. Round 14's the big one for me. And, I'd love to bring Jack Steele in to the side at his price point at the moment, but I just can't afford to carry another round 14 buy player. Look, I think it's really tough to be able to get 18 in all 3 buy rounds. Your planning has just got to be absolutely optimal for that, I think. I can't remember too many years where I've had, more than 18 for each buy. There's normally one buy that hurts you a little bit. But as you mentioned, George, the difference between fielding 16 and 18 with a couple of extra rookies, you could be looking at, 80 to 100 extra points from those rookies. And I don't think it's worth stressing out too much for that extra 80 or 100 points and wasting a trade or 2 on that. I'm quite happy having a donut or 2 during one of the buy rounds, but you'd want to be pretty optimal during the other 2. So, for example, in your situation, you got round 14 where you're looking at a couple of donuts, but if you're looking okay for 13 and 12, then I think everything balances out at the end of the day. And I think if you look around, most teams, that it's a pretty common theme that round 14 is going to be a little bit of a killer. So I think lots of people are going to be in the same boat there. So it's not going to affect you too much, given the fact that we'll be sharing the same difficulties, I think, mate. So I'm all okay for that.
Yep. And Spills, how do you feel about the buy rounds coming up?
Look, round 12's easy. I'm gonna hold my own pretty well on that, I think, and I speak for a lot of other blokes in that situation. But maybe a really unpopular opinion, but I think round 13 is going to be my big one because I've got a lot of I discussed that before, but I've got a lot of midfielders in particular that buy and no rookie coverage. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've got Downey on my bench and Fife as well. So I'm going to have to flip lead somehow and work around that. We'll see how we go. And I've got Scott as well on the bench who also has that buy. So depends which rookies are on the bubble, but I'm going to have a really bad week round 13, I think. But round 14, I'm very optimistic, and if things go my way and I have the trades in the bag, I have some pretty outrageous trade plans that, look, I'm not going to mention in this podcast. DR knows exactly what they are, and I might tell you after, George, but I reckon it's going to really make the difference, and it's a bit of a burn trade-wise, but I think it could possibly push you up into the 1%, and in my situation, that's probably what I need to do. So, look, if players stay durable and I get all the good rookies coming through, it should be all right with that. But, look, round 13 is the one that I'm really dreading with Mcrae, Merritt, and Lyons, and I don't know who else I got. But
Ridley
that's Ridley as well. He's in defence. It's not too hard to cover, but like 3 midfielders with that bye and no coverage is not good. So yeah, I'm gonna cop it pretty hard. I think that was one flaw with the Lions pick that I'm not too happy about. But yeah, that's probably the one for me, just because of my structure.
Yeah, you could even flick, if you have the trades, you could flick one of Downey or Fife to another rookie, possibly.
Yeah.
If you got the trades and the timing. See how you go, I guess.
Maybe Scott, because he'll be just about maxed out by then. And if there's a rookie on the bubble, hopefully there is, it could possibly be a good move. But nonetheless, I think I'll still get at least a donut, if not 2, if not 3 even in the midfield, that would scone me, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know yet.
All right, that's all our questions for today. With your secret trades, that's okay. I'll find out through the video. I reckon it'll be more surprising. I know you and DR are a bit like Treloar and Dunkley, and you like tell each other everything, and you're best mates. You tell everyone about it. So you guys can keep that secret. That's all right. But I'm excited to see that in whenever round 13 or round 14, whenever you do those trades. So that's all good. Thanks for taking the time, boys. I know you guys are very busy with work, and I know DR's pumping out the report cards, and the parents are going to be very happy. Not going to give him any phone calls or anything about those. So anyway, DR, give yourself everyone that knows me knows you, so it doesn't really matter, but give yourself a plug anyway.
Oh, thanks, mate. Well, look, first of all, thanks very much for having me, mate. Really looking forward to this. Always great to have a chat with you, mate. But yeah, look, it's obviously the YouTube channel is Supercoach with DR. Do the weekly round reviews as well as the stock market video where we go through all the best trade-ins. Look at the break evens, projected scores, all the rest. So yeah, Supercoach with DR. You can follow me at Twitter, Instagram as well. So any sort of platform, I'm always up for a chat, and just love chatting Supercoach. So yeah, thanks very much, George. Really enjoyed the time, mate.
That's right. And Spills, I know your channel's gained a fair bit of traction this year. I'm sure most people know as well, it probably comes up and recommend and stuff, but loving your work, loving your weekly videos so far and your rookie reviews. Give yourself a plug and go from there.
Yeah, look, so obviously, Spills Supercoach on YouTube. I do weekly rookie reviews every Tuesdays usually before training, post round reviews as well. I probably won't upload a rookie review this week just because there was literally none. I don't think that were really relevant except like RCD and Poulter for like a second week, which we covered really well in this podcast. So, and don't have much time as well, so probably going to hold off the rookie review this week. I'll do a round review, and I just got over 500 subs, which is absolutely bugger all compared to you two and JD, who's skyrocketed past me as well. So really trying to gain that as well. I do have a Twitter account as well. It's at John Spiller 9. That's my Supercoach Twitter account, and I do all sorts of stuff and trade plans on that. If you want to go suss that out, it's been pretty good. And also a personal account on Instagram, which is just nothing to do with Supercoach at all. But yeah, other than that, look, George, thanks, mate, for having me on your channel yet again. And I think we should do many more of these. And I can't believe it's been almost a year since all three of us got together for a podcast. Absolutely unacceptable. We should do this more.
Definitely. Thanks so much for joining. With JD, he owes me big time because I pumped his channel a lot because he's in the Discord with us. I was like every week I was like sub to JD, sub to JD. So don't worry. I was pretty much on par with you in my second year spills with subs. First year I ended up with like end of the year was 300 subs. So you'll get to 1K in no time. Don't worry about that. But yeah, loving your work this year. Really great videos. Anyway, thanks so much, boys, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Awesome, mate. Cheers, mate.